Have you ever felt like you're living a life scripted by someone else? That your identity, your potential, your very worth is constantly being measured against a standard you didn't set, a norm you don't quite fit? Do you sometimes feel like the supporting character in someone else's story, defined not by who you are, but by who you are not? This feeling of being perpetually on the outside looking in, of being the exception or the deviation, is a profound human experience, one that can subtly shape and limit your entire existence. What if this isn't just a personal feeling, but a fundamental mechanism of how societies operate? What if, for centuries, entire groups of people have been systematically defined not as autonomous subjects, but as the other, secondary, inessential, existing only in relation to a dominant, self-proclaimed norm? One philosopher dared to dissect this dynamic with unflinching honesty, particularly as it applied to women, and in doing so, she provided a blueprint for liberation that resonates far beyond gender. Her name was Simone de Beauvoir. Are you ready to confront the ways society might be subtly defining and limiting you? Are you prepared to explore how these invisible frameworks shape your identity and your freedom? Because Simone de Beauvoir's message is clear and urgent. Stop letting them define you. Reclaim your existence. This isn't just a call to action, it's an existential imperative. Simone de Beauvoir, a towering figure of 20th century existentialism and feminist thought, famously declared in her groundbreaking work, The Second Sex, "One is not born, but rather becomes a woman." This wasn't a denial of biological difference, but a radical assertion that femininity, as society understood it, was not a fixed natural essence, but a complex social construct, a set of myths, expectations, and limitations imposed upon women from birth. At the heart of her analysis is the concept of the self and the other. Beauvoir argued that throughout history, man has defined himself as the absolute subject, the essential being, the default human. Woman, in contrast, has been cast in the role of the other, defined negatively in relation to him. She is his counterpart, his foil, his object, but rarely a full subject in her own right. He is the one. She is the second sex, the inessential whose significance is derived from her connection or opposition to him. This isn't necessarily a conscious, malicious conspiracy, Beauvoir explains, but a deeply ingrained societal structure, a mythology perpetuated through culture, tradition, religion, and education. Women are taught to be passive, to be objects of desire, to find their fulfillment in domesticity or in pleasing men, while men are encouraged towards transcendence, shaping the world through their projects, their ambitions, their intellect. The eternal feminine, with its supposed mysteries and unique virtues, is often a gilded cage, a way of rationalizing women's confinement to a secondary, othered status. The consequences of being the other are profound. It means your identity is not your own to create, but is largely imposed from the outside. Your ambitions are subtly curtailed, your potential often unrecognized or steered towards appropriate channels. You internalize the gaze of the dominant group, judging yourself by their standards, sometimes even colluding in your own subjugation because the path to authentic selfhood seems too arduous, too fraught with conflict. This othering creates a fundamental tension, a drama of the self, where one is constantly struggling between the imposed identity and the desire for genuine freedom and self-definition. But Beauvoir was not just a diagnostician of oppression, she was a philosopher of liberation. If one becomes the other through social construction, then one can also refuse that definition and strive to become a subject, an authentic, self-creating individual. This is the core of her call to reclaim your existence. The first step is consciousness, recognizing the myths, the stereotypes, the subtle and not so subtle ways in which society attempts to define and limit you. It's about deconstructing the feminine or any othered identity that has been imposed and seeing it for the construct it is. This critical awareness is the spark that ignites the desire for freedom. Next is the existential imperative of transcendence. For Beauvoir, humans are not defined by a fixed essence but by their projects, their capacity to reach beyond their current situation and shape their future. Women, like all individuals, must be free to engage in this transcendence through meaningful work, creative pursuits, intellectual engagement, political action. She emphasized the crucial role of economic independence and access to productive labor as fundamental to women's liberation, freeing them from material dependence on men and allowing them to define themselves through their own achievements. This path to reclaiming existence is not easy. It involves rejecting the allure of bad faith, the temptation to accept the comfortable, albeit limiting, roles society offers, to abdicate one's freedom and responsibility. It requires courage to face the anxiety of freedom, to define one's own values, and to assert oneself as a subject in a world that may still try to push you back into the category of the other. It demands a constant striving for authenticity, for a life lived in accordance with one's own freely chosen projects and values, not those dictated by external pressures. While Beauvoir's primary analysis in The Second Sex focused on women, the concept of the other is a powerful lens for understanding many forms of societal marginalization, based on race, class, sexuality, religion, or any characteristic that deviates from a perceived dominant norm. Any group can be cast as the other and subjected to similar dynamics of definition and limitation. Her philosophy calls on us to critically examine the power structures that create these dichotomies of self and other. It urges us to recognize the humanity and subjectivity in everyone, to demand reciprocity, a world where individuals encounter each other as equals, not as subject and object. So, look around you and look within. In what ways have you been defined by others? What societal scripts have you unconsciously adopted? Where have you felt like the other? And what would it take for you to fully reclaim your existence, to define yourself on your own terms? Beauvoir's challenge is as relevant today as it was decades ago. It's a call for perpetual vigilance, for courage, and for the unwavering pursuit of a freedom that is not given, but actively created. Have you experienced being treated as the other? How do you navigate societal expectations and strive for authenticity in your own life? What does reclaiming your existence mean to you? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. This is a vital conversation. If this exploration of Simone de Beauvoir's powerful ideas has inspired you to think more critically about freedom and identity, please like this video, subscribe to One Pixel Soul for more deep dives into transformative philosophy, and hit that notification bell. We've journeyed through despair, meaninglessness, power, shamelessness, desire, change, and otherness. What fundamental truths have we uncovered? And where do we go from here? Join us next time as we reflect on these philosophical odysseys and perhaps explore how these ancient and modern insights collide with the challenges of our contemporary world. Thank you for being a fellow seeker. Keep questioning. Keep defining yourself. See you in the next one.